Good evening. The time is now 6 p.m., April 6th, 2022, and we'll call to order the regular meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission for the City of Vacaville. We appreciate everyone who is participating in tonight's Parks and Recreation teleconference meeting. This meeting will be conducted pursuant Assembly Bill 361. Please bear with us as we attempt to use remote tools. Instructions to call into the meeting or participate from a computer are provided on the agenda on the city's website at www.cityofvacaville.com. Callers who wish to comment can press *9 to get into the speaking queue. Computer users can click the raise hand button within their Zoom controls to request to speak.
Chair McMahon, this is Director Walker.
Good evening, ma'am.
We need to jump to item 2 on the agenda and move forward with the swearing in of new commissioners before roll call.
Okay, understand, and we will do that now. So we are now at agenda item number 2. This evening, we have City Clerk Michelle Thornborough with us. And ma'am, welcome, and we look forward to you swearing in our 2 new commissioners.
Thank you, Chair McMahon. For our returning commissioners, your previous oath of office will continue with you. So tonight we will be swearing in Commissioners Danielle Shea and Commissioner Blair Oz. And so if I could have you both repeat after me, and I will have you start by stating your name.
Blair Oz.
Danielle Shea.
I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear.
To support and defend.
To support and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Yeah.
Against all enemies.
Against all
enemies.
Foreign and domestic.
Foreign and domestic.
And I will bear true faith and allegiance.
And I will bear true faith and allegiance.
To the Constitution of the United States.
To the Constitution of the United States.
United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose
of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
And that I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties.
Discharge the duties.
Upon which I'm about to enter.
Upon which I'm about to enter.
Here.
Congratulations and welcome to the Parks and Rec Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Clerk. We appreciate it very much. And congratulations to our new commissioners. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now go back to item number 1, roll call, Madam Secretary.
Commissioner Oz.
Here.
Commissioner Baruman.
Here.
Commissioner Baruman.
Here.
Oh, thank you. Commissioner Gutierrez.
Here.
Commissioner Shea.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson.
I am present.
Vice Chair Vasquez.
Here.
Chair McMahon.
Here. Thank you, Madam. I'd like to go back to our new commissioners. Welcome again. We absolutely are thrilled you're here, and we look forward to working with you. At this time, we'll start with Commissioner Oz. Sir, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, commissioners and members of the public. Again, my name is Blair Oz. I'm a 20-year resident of Sonoma County, but recently moved to the ever-growing District 6 a couple years ago. And my background is I've had just a long 20-year passion for parks and recreation, personally and professionally. And I just look forward to working with all the commissioners and serving the community to enhance and improve parks and recreation the best that we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Commissioner Shea, welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening, fellow commissioners. Good evening, city staff. Good evening to members of the public. I'm very excited and very appreciated to be representing my district on the Parks and Rec Council. My name is Danielle Shea. I'm a lifetime Vacaville resident, born and raised. I'm a mother of 4 boys here that we are very happy of teachers at Vacaville at Kairos Public Schools. I am very excited to serve my community. It is my belief that anybody who gets to enjoy the benefits of being part of a community should also give back to that community. So I'm, again, happy to represent my district and to do some good.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We're happy both of you are here, and we look forward to working with you as well. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our past commissioners, Jennifer Leonard and Philip Vandertulen. Thank you so much. We appreciate the work you did during your tenure here on the commission. We are now at agenda item number 3, and that is the Pledge of Allegiance. This evening, Vice Chair Vasquez, would you please lead us in that pledge?
Will do. If everyone could please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Outstanding. Thank you very much, ma'am. Item number 4 is the approval of the agenda. I know that we had a change this evening. If we can make that amendment on the agenda for the record. And then also, I do believe we have some other changes. Is that correct, Madam Secretary?
Yes, Chair McMahon. For item number 14, just so that we can kind of have a smooth flow of that item, if we can move election of chair and vice chair after the appointment of commissioners to the arts to review the applications. So 14A will come after 14B. That's one amendment. And then the second one for item B, it says appoint 2 members to the Parks and Recreation, 2 members of the Parks and Recreation Commission to serve on the committee to review applications, interview candidates, and recommend members for the Arts Advisory Committee. There's actually 2 vacancies, so I just want to point that out, that it's multiple members for the Arts Advisory.
Okay, very good. I understand. So we will make 14A and B, they will just swap positions on the agenda. And then also we are looking for 2 members for that Arts Advisory Committee. So at this point, with the amendments and the changes for this evening's agenda, I'll accept a motion, please, as amended.
So moved as amended.
Okay, I have Vasquez, and a second, please.
Commissioner Thompson.
Okay, so I have Vasquez and Thompson. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Berman?
Aye.
Commissioner Oz?
Aye.
Commissioner Gutierrez?
Aye.
Commissioner Shea?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Vasquez?
Yes.
Chair McMahon?
Yes. Item number 5 is the approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes for the meeting of March the 2nd, 2022. Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes for that meeting, ma'am?
I have none, Chair.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Secretary, will our new commissioners be voting on this if they haven't reviewed, or I'm not sure if they reviewed the meeting or the minutes for that meeting?
They can abstain if they have not reviewed it. And I believe City Attorney Borba has her hand up. She'll probably have a comment.
Yes, Madam.
If it's any help, I was just going to tell the new commissioners that if they've had the opportunity to review the prior meeting, they're welcome to vote on the approval of the minutes. If not, then it's appropriate to abstain from the approval of the minutes.
Okay, very good. So I'm sure the new commissioners understand that. If you've had an opportunity to review the minutes for that meeting, feel free to vote. And if not, feel free to abstain. At this point, I will accept a motion for the minutes of March the 2nd, 2022.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and
March 22nd. Yes.
a second.
I second.
Is that Commissioner
Gutierrez, sorry.
Gutierrez. Okay, so we have Berumen and Gutierrez. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Oz,
Yes.
Commissioner Berumen.
Aye.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner Shea,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Vasquez,
Yes.
Chair McMahon.
Yes. Thank you very much. Item 6, communications. Madam Secretary, any written communications or correspondence this evening?
We have received none, Chair.
Thank you very much. We are now at item 7, presentations. This evening we have Julia Madison, and she is going to present on active aging. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for having me here. As the chair said, my name is Julia Madison. I'm a recreation supervisor with the Parks and Recreation Department, and I'm here tonight to share some updates with you about our active aging programs. As you may be aware, most of our active aging programs are offered at the McBride Community Center, which is conveniently located in historic downtown Vacaville, adjacent to the beautiful Creekwalk Plaza and Andrews Park. Next slide, please, Tracy. Okay, when traditional programming was shut down in March of 2020 due to COVID, the city realized almost right away that our senior population was in immediate need. City Hall was inundated with calls from people needing help, and as a result, the team at McBride opened a senior help hotline to connect seniors with the resources that they needed. From there, the Hot Meals program was born. Staff partnered with local restaurants to deliver hot meals 3 times a week to seniors in need. In total, council approved nearly $63,000 in funding to support the Hot Meals program. As time passed, the program grew. We provided Thanksgiving and Christmas deliveries during the holidays in addition to the regular weekly meal deliveries. And all said and done, when the program closed out, we served just under 8,000 meals to about 45 seniors a week. We had the help and support of some really tried and true, steadfast volunteers that kept the meal deliveries going throughout the pandemic, and we couldn't have done it without their support. The Hot Meals program was able to close out in June of 2021 as things started to open back up. Additionally, in 2021, the Hot Meals volunteers were recognized with a Volunteer Service Award from our local chapter of the California Park and Recreation Society. Next slide. All right, on Wednesday, July 21st, we were so excited to really reopen the building and host the Reunited event at McBride. The purpose of this event was to re-engage the active aging community that had been out of the building for so long, and to showcase the current program offerings at McBride. A number of our community partners, including Kaiser and lots of the local assisted living facilities, were present to share their programs and opportunities for seniors. And in addition, we had lots of games, dancing, swag, and people just so happy to reconnect with one another. It was really a great event. Next slide. As the world really starts to open back up, our Vacaville community members are ready to travel, and we have some great opportunities on the table right now. We partner with Premier World Discovery and Colette Tours to provide a unique array of travel opportunities. There are many options to choose from, but some of the current highlights are a trip highlighting Italy's Amalfi Coast in November, a Washington, D.C. holiday tour, in addition to a London and France combo tour with New Year's Eve spent in Paris. Next slide, please, Tracy. Now, looking ahead, what we're really aiming for is that full return to normalcy. And we're working on rebuilding. Many of our instructors and partners have returned to the building and to their programming, but many others have decided not to return. Current offerings at McBride include an array of fitness and tech classes, cultural art program offerings, various support groups, social groups and events, and then free services we partner to provide, like legal consultations, health insurance counseling, notary services, driver's courses. AARP is here, really busy right now doing free tax prep appointments for the community. So that's some of what's happening at McBride currently. Next slide, please. So some of our accomplishments. While the community is ready and eager to return to normal, it's been a little slower than we would like it to be. So we have had some challenges in getting people to return, and some of our partners have decided not to return. But that being said, we are offering a wide array of fitness, language, and technology classes, and drop-in groups like quilting and the Parkinson's support group have started meeting in person again recently. Another big win for us was just last month, we got brand new PCs in the McBride Training Center. All of our old computers were swapped out for brand new technology. We have a full upgraded center, and this space is used regularly for classes like computer basics, smart device classes, and various departmental trainings. Next slide, please. Like most of the department, one of the biggest challenges in the active aging program area is staffing related. Our active aging program coordinator position became vacant unexpectedly last month, and we're now on the hunt for someone to oversee active aging programs for the department. Additionally, as I've mentioned a few times, finding new contract instructors has been a bit challenging, as many of our active aging programs are facilitated by seniors who are not yet quite ready to return to a group environment. Next slide, please. With that, I'd really like to thank all of you for allowing me to share some of our happenings at McBride and with the active aging programs, and I can open it up for any questions you may have.
Julia, thank you so much for all you do for our seniors. They're such an important part of our community, and it's really nice to see that they're benefiting from the services and the programs that we offer. So thank you so much. At this time, I'll open it up for commissioner comments. Commissioner Gutierrez.
Oh, sorry, I had a problem with my mute there. Yes, I echo what Chair McMahon said. It's so refreshing to see these activities geared towards the seniors. You answered one of the questions I had. I wanted to know if we're noticing any changes as far as enrollment pre-pandemic, but you answered that question. I don't know, have we thought about reaching out to past participants for some of the classes and just letting them know things are open again? And then my other question was, are we offering any type of virtual classes, like some of the free options that are there? Are there virtual options for maybe some of the seniors that don't feel comfortable, commingling with others at this time?
Great questions. So two things, and I want to make sure to answer both of them. We definitely did reach out to regular program participants when we started reopening the building. And just to clarify, our problem is not participation. We have plenty of people who want to be in programs, and we have great participation in the classes that are running. What our challenge has been the instructors who are not ready to come back. So while we have, I think in at least one circumstance, there was a regular class participant who ended up taking over a class because an instructor wasn't comfortable returning. We also,
Lost your voice there, ma'am. Can you hear us?
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
There we go. You're back.
I'm sorry, where did I cut out?
About probably 10, 15 seconds ago.
You said one returning person came back to teach.
Oh, yes. So there was one class where we found a class participant to take over for an instructor who doesn't have an interest in returning. And then in terms of the virtual classes you asked about, we surveyed and reached out to participants a lot during COVID, and there does not seem to be an interest in virtual classes for seniors. We tried a couple of things and did not get many bites. The challenge we're facing is seniors want to be here participating. We just don't have enough instructors to run the programs. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. Thank you for the clarification. And I actually may know a retiree that's not quite ready to sit down, that loves to call her daughter a lot.
Well, send her my way. We will busy her.
I will. I might reach out to you. Thank you so much, Julia.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Vice Chair Vasquez.
Hey, Julia, thank you so much for the presentation. just like with seeing our kids returning to activities in person, it's great to see our seniors returning to activities in person and enjoying time with their peers. I had a quick question about the Reunited event. What was the attendance like at that event?
It was, it was a pretty good turnout. I apologize. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I want to say there were between 40 and 50 community members, non-vendors, non-presenters that came to the event.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And then my other just follow-up question just is more like general in terms of like safety protocols. And because we know that seniors are our most vulnerable population when it comes to COVID. And just what safety protocols, or are there different safety protocols instituted for the McBride Center when it comes to COVID and potentially contact tracing?
There are not. We talked about in the very beginning, perhaps a different set of return to programming procedures, but it didn't feel like we wanted to be consistent. So in the Parks and Rec department and in the city in general, there are not any COVID-related policies in place anymore. Masking is at your own discretion. We're not checking for proof of vaccination or anything along those lines.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other commissioner comments or questions for Julia? I see no hands. Julia, thank you so much. It's over the past year and a half or so, this department and this Parks and Rec department has proven that they are more than just parks and recreation. This department became a lifeline for some of our most vulnerable seniors in Vacaville during the pandemic. When you say that we put out nearly 8,000 meals to numerous people, logistically, that's no easy task, and that's all the staff. So thank you so much to the staff that was involved and to our volunteers. There's no way possible we could have made that happen without those volunteers delivering food to the seniors. What started a couple days a week, and I think we ended up doing more than that during the holiday season, during bad weather, during the cold season. So thank you so much. It was I hope we don't have to do it again, but if we do, we know how to do it. And I know that other cities looked at us as the example because we set that example. And thank you so much for that to the staff. It's incredible. I'd also like to say thank you to a person that just retired, our active aging recreation coordinator, Audrey Calder. She just did a great job with the seniors. She was extremely passionate and just did an amazing job with our seniors. She will be missed, ma'am. Enjoy your retirement and nothing but the best to you. So Julia, thank you so much, ma'am. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on, we are now at item 8 on the agenda, which is business from the floor. This is the time to address the commission with issues that are not on the agenda that are within the commission subject matters jurisdiction. Maximum of 3 minutes per speaker, please. Madam Secretary, anyone from the public with their hand raised this evening?
I do have a hand raised.
Okay, very good. If you would open their mic, please.
Sure. Councilmember Silla, I'll open your mic.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you all doing?
Wonderful, sir.
Good. And I just want to thank you all again for your continued service. For those who continue to serve on Parks and Rec and those who stepped up, and really looking forward to working with y'all and making sure we keep this a good, vibrant community that we're all pretty proud of. So thank you all. Just wanted to chime in and congratulate everyone. Thank you.
Councilmember Silva, thank you so much for the call. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate what you're doing for your district and our community as well, sir. So thank you for the call. It means a lot. Madam Secretary, any other hands from the public, ma'am, for public comment?
I see no other hands, Chair.
Okay, we will close public comment. We are now at agenda item number 9, and seeing there is no business this evening, we'll move to item 10, committee reports. Play for All Committee, Commissioner Berruman.
Well, thank you, Chair. Good evening, fellow commissioners. From the last report meeting we had from the Play for All Park Committee, they're still looking for donations to try to complete phase 1 of the park. They're still needing to complete the restroom and some picnic structures and landscaping. So they're reaching out. They were on the reporter. They're trying to do everything they can to try to get to that dollar amount to complete the phase 1s. They're hoping to open up on Memorial Monday. So, you know, they're still trying to keep positive about that. But right now they're just looking for funds, and they're about $400K short. So they've been, you know, asking the public, reaching out to the city and see if there's any available funds out there and if people can donate or buy a brick for Memorial somebody. But pretty much is where they're at. So they're still shooting for Memorial Day to hopefully do an opening. And that's all I have to report at the moment.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate the report and we look forward to that opening. I know there's been some challenges just with supplies and cost, and the pandemic has created some extra challenges. So thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, we are now at 11. Item number 11, reports of park planner, Nemo Gonzalez. Nemo, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair McMahon. Good evening to everyone on the call tonight. Welcome to
Nemo, if I may, sir, we'll do this the same way we've done in the past. If you would go ahead and brief each subcategory, and then we'll open it up for public comment and commissioner comments, sir.
Sure, sounds good.
Thank you.
So we've got a few park improvements projects to share with you all tonight. The first project being Sierra Vista, which is managed by our recreation manager, Reggie Hubbard.
Yeah, thanks, Nemo. That is my project. I'm a project manager for this particular park improvement. We've been working with Melton Design Group on the Sierra Vista park design. Patrick Farrar is MDG's lead for this project. He's going to walk us through the concept plan in a second. And at the end, we'll take questions and feedback on the plan itself. But just as a side note, the Sierra Vista Improvement Project is funded through Measure M funds. This is a sales tax measure that was extended and increased by Vacaville residents a few years back. Park improvements were identified as one of the priorities for Measure M funds. And Sierra Vista is one of several parks that was slated for improvements at this time. So like I said, Patrick will walk us through the project. At the end of this presentation, we'll take any questions on our community meetings and some of the things that we've done to lead us up to this. So I'll pass it on to Patrick.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Reggie. Thank you, everybody who's joining this evening. I'm going to take you through the slides quickly. Please, next slide, Tracy. So just a brief overview of the site, and most of you, I'm sure, aware of the location. It's kind of nice to look at it again in this aerial photo. This park sits adjacent to Sierra Vista School, and until recently, they had a common field, and that has now been delineated with a fence for security and other reasons. But there's still access between the two spaces, the park that we're renovating and also the school. There's also connections to the community via sidewalks and then a little alleyway to the north to Clayton Circle. Next slide. And generally the conditions on the ground at eye level, this is along Bel Air and that side of the park. You can see that there are some improvements that came with the school, such as the new enhanced sidewalks, the truncated domes for safety. There are some older features, as you can see as well, and the walking paths have degenerated over the years. Next slide. Again, a general view of the park looking toward the interior. You see the walking paths, the condition is about the same throughout. The connection to Clayton Circle, which is going to be preserved. It's a nice connection for people going to and from the park and to the school. You see in the lower left where the play equipment used to be when the park was first designed. It has been removed, I think, due to safety concerns as it aged and broke down. And we are going to have new play equipment there. Next slide. again, general conditions along the fence line at Sierra Vista. Nice new fence, good improvements there, including something you don't see is the underground storm drainage. And we have that connected to our park site. We'll be looking at how we maybe use some of that runoff for interpretation, bioswales, how maybe programs for the kids, opportunity for them to have programs to see how stormwater might be treated, and other amenities in the park as well. Next slide. So here we are. This is several versions deep. And if you haven't seen anything before, know that this is evolving. This is a presentation for staff based on where we and commission, where we have arrived today. This has gone through some public comment, working with staff, and also just general design development. This layout is the direction we're going, and it will change over time, but let's just talk about what we see here today. We're trying to preserve as much of that play field as possible. There's a limited budget for this project, of course, and we want to make sure we target the areas with those funds to the best use as possible. So the turf fields, for the most part, will be retained. We might do some grading along Greenwich Circle just to make it a little more exciting. The amenities, of course, play equipment is a park, but there's also picnic tables for picnicking, barbecue, shade for overhead shade structures, and also increased tree planting to provide shade. One of the biggest amenities that you'll see that's new here is this circulation, the pedestrian footpath. We are trying to create an ability for people to do loops and have more passive or active recreation and fitness based on their capabilities. We are preserving, again, the connections to the community through pathways. There is a TGIF building, the lower right, that's still evolving, the size of it, the location, but approximately where it would go would allow us to use the drive-through that the school already has, so we don't have to have and create extra parking. We can use their drop-off location and save funds, again, for the play equipment and all the other amenities. We haven't identified all the specific play equipment, but we're looking again at a tot experience, the 5 to 12, and adaptive play, just to make sure we cover at least the basic needs of the community. And also there's opportunity for adventure play that could be less defined. And so again, as we go through the design development, you'll see that there are different types of play equipment specified. And we are working through the cost, especially in the past couple of years with the escalation of costs. It's a little bit of a challenge, but we're working closely with Nemo and Reggie to get those in line and see what we can do with this park. Next slide. Yeah, so briefly, that's the site plan, and this is kind of roughly the steps. We did have our public meeting in February. Today we're meeting, and so the next few stages, you can see them outlined here. Construction, summer 2023, grand opening, hopefully before rain start that same year. Yeah, so we're here to entertain questions. Just a quick overview of what's happening. There's more to follow, as you can see, as you look at the project timeline.
Patrick, thank you very much, sir. We'll go ahead and open it up for commissioner comments for Patrick or Reggie. Commissioner Gutierrez.
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation. I know on this last slide, you talked about stages. I have 2 kids that access that park that go to the school, and I'm just wondering, do you anticipate at any time closing off that area, or will there always be a section open so the kids that live on the backside of the school can still walk through without, you know, kind of impeding on the construction that's going on?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think we've gone that far, but many times in construction projects, you can maintain pedestrian access through a park, and that could be fenced off. to provide safety, chain link fence that's at the height that's safe. That direct link through to Clayton Circle, that might be a little bit challenging, but we haven't looked that deeply into that. Something to discover as we move forward for sure. And it'll be part of the bid docs. The contractor will have to follow our guidelines, what we decide to do there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Vice Chair Vasquez.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the presentation and the information. I was actually not able to attend the recent Sierra Vista community meeting, but I did attend the November 2020 meeting when feedback was solicited for Sierra Vista and potentially exploring a grant option. And I'm just wondering if that feedback was considered or incorporated in this plan.
Yes, thanks for the question, Commissioner Vasquez. All of that information that was provided to the city during that grant application period, we did provide it to the consultant as well. So they were able to review that information from the kids and from those classes and from the surveys during that time and incorporate what they could into this plan.
Okay, I know when I was on that call back in 2020, which was a long time ago, but there was, strong concern from community members about lighting and safety. This park in particular is very, very dark at night. I know this I don't live in this district or live in this area, but our children tend to use it for softball and baseball when the fields are allocated to the softball and baseball leagues. And, when softball and baseball starts, the time change hasn't yet occurred. And so we're usually rushing the clock from like that 4:30 to 5:30 or 5 to 6, 5 to 6 and just that hour. But it gets really, really dark at this park. And I know, historically, lighting isn't something that is considered for neighborhood parks, but when you do look around at other neighborhood parks, some have lighting, some don't, some have old light posts that aren't active. But what can be done to at least give some safety lighting to this park in particular?
Yeah, great question. And that the lighting will be upgraded once through this project. It won't be, lighting for someone to be on the field, but as you said, there will be safety lighting added to some of the walking paths around the park to give police better access if they're looking, from Greenwich Circle to Baylor Drive. They can see through the park at least if someone's in the park, but not for residents to play in the park, but at least just you can see in the park at night.
Yeah, okay. My only other thought or suggestion or feedback on this specific design is all of the barbecue pits tend to be in one centralized location. And I'm wondering if there is consideration to potentially move those around the park. So that way, one family may be barbecuing and another family, and it just seems odd to have them all clustered together in one location. Is there consideration or potential for that?
Yeah, absolutely. We can look at the placement of all the barbecue areas and make it more beneficial and convenient for the park users. Absolutely.
Yeah, it just seems kind of odd that they're all right there in that one little strip, and people may be using different areas of the park. Sorry, and one other final thought or comment in general about the presentations tonight is covered structure or covered picnic areas. I know there's been lots of feedback from all of the community members or from the community meetings about that. And if there is a way to incorporate more, the red items are trees, so I don't think that's covered, I believe. But if there could be potential for more covered structures, I think that would be great.
Yeah, and if you look between those next to the multi-use field, between those two red trees, there's two shade structures there. I get my cursor is probably not on the screen, but
yeah, no, I see it. I think that we could always do more.
Okay, gotcha. No, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's Vacaville's hot. So as much,
Yeah.
I mean, in this, there's some existing trees. I mean, we're going to keep as many existing trees in this park as possible, of course, because that provides good shade as well. So, but there you go. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But then, you know, we'll be bound by the budget as well. So we'll see what we can add.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Gutierrez, did you have another question, ma'am?
No, I'm sorry, I forgot to lower my hand, but actually, I was thinking of something that Commissioner Vasquez just brought up about the shade structure. And if there is thought about spreading out the barbecues, because I know like at the Meadowlands neighborhood park, the barbecues are very close to the shade structure. So if you're barbecuing for your party, you're in close proximity, where on this map, unless I'm seeing something wrong, it looks like the barbecues are on the opposite side of the shade structure.
Yeah, and like I said, we can revisit where the barbecue areas are. I mean, for convenience of this presentation, we put them there, but we can always revisit that.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, I would just like to add that, again, we're early in this phase, and the comments we received tonight are also evaluated, incorporated in. So we need this feedback, and you'll see things that maybe we didn't see. So again, we appreciate your comments.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Any other commissioner comments or questions for either Reggie or Patrick? See no hands, I'll open it up for public comment. Madam Secretary, anyone from the public would like to speak on 11A, Sierra Vista Park improvements?
I see no hands, Chair.
See no hands. Okay, very good. Thank you. We will close public comment. Once again, I'll bring it back to the commission. Any further questions for 11A, Sierra Vista Park improvements? I see no hands. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are now at 11B, Alamo Creek Park improvements.
Thank you, Chair. So our second presentation tonight is for park improvements at Alamo Creek Park. And Alamo Creek Park is one of our city's most popular neighborhood parks, and it's located at the intersection of Alamo Drive and Buck Avenue. Our improvement project is again funded by Measure-M funds, with scope previously being approved by council with the adoption of the Parks and Rec Master Plan in 2021, and with our current year's CIP budget. We conducted some well-attended outreach efforts, and some of the items that were brought up at these meetings included creek maintenance, off-leash dog areas, repairing some of the decomposed granite, and the basketball court size. Now, staff went back and synthesized this feedback and worked with our consultant, who you're familiar with. His name is Patrick, works at MDG. And with that, I'll turn it over to him.
All right, thank you, Nemo. Go ahead, next slide, please. Yeah, this park, like Nemo said, is much used and much and well loved, and for good reason. This is such a great park as is. So how do you go about improving it? So again, through output or through the outreach and interaction with people on site, we took a quick look from above, and you can see the walking paths that are here. It's a very organic, natural park with the decomposed granite pathways. The excellent tree canopy and cover provides that shade, and you can see the courts there in the lower left. Again, bounded by Alamo and Buck and Alamo Creek on the eastern side. Next slide. Again, a few views current within the past couple months. You can see the condition at the sidewalks, looking into the park, and some of the equipment, fitness equipment that's there, and just the general condition again. Next slide. This is primarily the corner of Alamo and Buck. You can see the condition there. You can see all the crosswalks that are at this intersection, very busy intersection, and the entry monumentation and the signage. You can see also the thematic tree planting. You'll see it almost all the entries, the crepe myrtle. This one is out of leaf right now, but very striking entry at all those pedestrian entries. Next slide. Again, just walking through the park, this is along the exterior pathway. You can see, again, some of the fitness equipment, plenty of benches in sight. You see some of the infrastructure here. Again, another entry off the street. This has a driveway entry, so maintenance vehicles can drive through the park and maintain the interior. Next slide. Here you're seeing on the upper side, at least, you're seeing the entry in two different seasons. So you can see how striking that is. Deeper into the park, we have an area that's a little different, more like a botanic garden. These raised mounds, the varied plantings create a lot of interest, and a little change in topography, which is kind of nice. And then the creek edge adjacent to the back of lot for some of the homes, the residences along the creek. Next slide. Again, general condition in the middle of the park, you're starting to see on the right-hand side and lower left, the condition along the creek. And we took this, a study of this, and we're looking, where's this erosion occurring? Why is it occurring? I walked this with Reggie and his staff a couple times, and we kind of have located some of the source for this and looking for a way to improve this so we don't have runoff going into the creek, and we can also maybe enhance that area as well. Next slide. General condition of the two courts, the basketball court and the tennis. Both looking for some renovation here. You can see some of the cracking, and some of the restriping you'll see will be covered through normal maintenance. You won't see us talking so much about that, and that is coming shortly. Next slide. Some of the existing tot play, really well used, a very active center part of the park, nice shade, and always heavily used. Next slide. Again, more interior shots. These are kind of really showing the character. If you know this park, this is really a nice place you can get away. You can be really close to all that activity, but you can walk 20 or 30, 40 feet away, and you really feel like you're really separated from it. Just such a glorious canopy in this park, and we're not removing any trees at all. Next slide. So here's the conceptual master plan that we've come up with to date, and some of the features around the periphery. Through public outreach, we've learned that some of the condition of the pathways might need repair. We're showing some of that area in the light kind of chartreuse color, and a little bit in the interior where it's needed. There's very heavily used areas, including this little rill in the center, the middle center that flows in, that creates kind of flow pattern in the creek. So chasing that damage back up into the center of the park, repairing it will help us maintain anything we do at the creek edge. We won't be encountering more issues and blow out what we are repairing and enhancing at the creek. At the corners, the pedestrian entries, some of that has degraded over time due to foot traffic and people walking, as they will wherever there's an opening between the shrubs. So we are enhancing the corners, create some identity, a little upgraded planting there. All of it will be capable of living with extreme southern exposures or western exposures, so low water use and probably most likely most drip systems there. And then periodically, as we determine the quality of the shrubs that are there now along Buck and Alamo, we might slowly start to replace some of those large junipers. Right now, people are walking through wherever they can. Sight lines are a little bit interrupted for law enforcement, and it looks a little bit aged. So we're looking at, as a second tier priority, looking at replacing those. To the center of the park, the basketball court, we're looking to restripe that and have some multi-use going on there. One of the things we're looking at is the pickleball striping. You can add your count as far as courts and amount of players without doing much, except for them bringing in their own equipment.
Patrick, do you mind if I chime in? You
Yes.
said basketball court, and I think you meant tennis court.
Oh, my mistake. Yes. So onto the tennis court, looking to enhance that. You saw the condition. We're exploring what size court to put in, and it pretty much occupies the same footprint. It may require, based on the size, a little bit or turf removal, and that could also enhance our, savings and water use. Creating a picnic area near that basketball court, trying to get some continuity as far as the furniture styles throughout the park. There's a mix, kind of a mishmash of styles right now. And then right above the pickleball tennis court, little games area, some of it passive, picnic tables that have games inset, whether it's checkers, chess, or it could just be used for picnicking or gathering. And then looking at possibilities of horseshoe, cornhole, ping pong, those type of game tables that are all durable, all concrete, except for horseshoes, that are very durable in kind of an area that's away from those more passive and quiet picnic areas. And then over to the eastern side, we have the repair along Alamo Creek. We have identified the most critical area, and then if funds allow, a second tier to repair that area, enhance it with material to be suitable for that creek edge. We've already consulted with Fish and Wildlife to make sure within the city's existing permit, and we are, as long as we stay within the guidelines and where we have located these shrubberies. And then a little further north on the path of possibility for nature play, which would just be more play that kids have an ability to create their own games, more natural looking logs and boulders and climbing to challenge themselves and create their own style of game. So again, this park has a lot already, and trying to identify what it needs has been a bit of a challenge, and still in a state of flux. This is what we've identified to date. Next slide, Tracy. So quickly, let's just roll through here. You can see the blow up of the games area and picnic tables. Next slide. This is an idea of what those pieces of play equipment could be. You can see the durability of them. Next slide. This is an example of what the nature play could be, a little more natural looking. Again, still can challenge the kids and whoever. You can play with your kid. As you can see, adults like to play with their kids. Next slide. Just a typical layout, if you haven't seen it, of how you can accommodate more than just one sport court. This is pickleball with tennis. Next slide. And just a few kind of wild paint schemes. We haven't drilled down to what we might do there on the basketball court, but you can go from basic to crazy. Next. A little bit interpretation panel we're exploring along the creek edge. There's such an opportunity there. For a variety of reasons, such a treasure. And so maybe open that up to schools or just the community for a way to maybe citizen science, nature journaling, or just bird watching, a more passive experience. Next. And here we are. And I think, is there a final slide, Tracy? Yeah, again, where we have been and where we're going. Similar timeline to Sierra Vista, but I would say it's a little bit quicker fuse. I think Nemo can speak to that. But again, same scope and task ahead of us. Okay, if you go back one. And yeah, opportunity for questions.
Yeah, I just got a couple more points to make. So we are, coordinating these efforts with our public works maintenance teams, and they've got some additional projects happening at this particular site. They've identified some issues with the current adult fitness circuit equipment, and so they've removed some of them, but my understanding is that there is an intent to replace that equipment. In addition to that, with our new repaved enhanced basketball court, there is an additional effort via Public Works to enhance the paving at the tennis court, which is currently a little dilapidated as well. So we'll coordinate with them, and we'll continue to coordinate with them to make sure that these efforts happen seamlessly and streamlined. And with that, we can open it to any comments or questions.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. I do have some questions, but I'm going to open it up to the commission first. At this point, Commissioner Berruman.
Muted. Here I am. I always forget to mute. I'll be glad when we're in person. Well, anyways, yeah, thank you, Patrick and Reggie. I think you might have answered my question because I was going to ask you about resurfacing of the, resurfacing of the tennis courts because they look pretty cracked and looking to need to be replaced, and they were kind of edgy. The other thing on these picnic areas and new ones, is there barbecues anywhere? I'm like Commissioner Vasquez looking for the barbecues near the picnic areas.
I don't think that we had discussed the addition of any new barbecue. So whatever facilities are there, that's what we had intended, but it's obviously something that we can easily accommodate.
Okay. And that's all I have for the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Vice Chair Vasquez.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for this presentation. I did actually attend this community meeting, but I didn't share any feedback at the time. This one is actually in my district and use it frequently. But one of the biggest things that I tend to see is that when the park is being highly used, there's a lot of folks park along Buck Avenue and along Alamo, and the Alamo strip side of the park is really, really long. And so folks don't tend to walk towards the two main entry points, or I guess 3-ish main entry points. They tend to walk directly through the shrubs. And I think, I'm sure as you've all walked it, have seen the unnatural entry points that have been created just from foot traffic. And so I was actually wondering, and probably should have brought this up at the community meeting, if there could be maybe a 4th official entry on the Alamo side to hopefully minimize the amount of foot traffic through the unofficial areas of entries of the park.
Sure. So I think, Patrick, you can remind me if we discussed this or not, but we did discuss those particular deer trails. You can see along Buck Avenue, even in this aerial image here, that there, in addition to the 3 sort of formal entrances, we have a couple of other informal deer trail entrances that are actually paved with decomposed granite. I think adding some along Buck is a great idea because it's a much longer stretch and it's a busy.
Alamo.
I apologize. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's great feedback, and I think that's something that we can certainly explore.
Okay, cool. Thank you. The other question was in the staff or in our staff report, the basketball said it was elementary size, but it doesn't show that here. What size are we putting in there?
Patrick, can you speak to the dimension that you provided?
Yeah, I have my own slide deck here. Yeah, so roughly 42 by 74 feet.
Okay, so that's correct. That was what was in our staff report packet. So
okay.
And then my last question is, and I don't know if this is I guess can be answered at this moment, but I guess just questioning why we're using Measure M funds specifically on creek restoration. I know it is sort of a feature of this park. I don't know if I would call it an actual amenity of the park, So I'm just kind of wondering why the decision to use Measure M funds on the creek restoration.
Yeah, there's actually no, I should clarify that there's no creek restoration. There's adding additional planting to make sure that we're addressing some of the erosion problems, and to, from an ornamental standpoint, make it look a little nicer. But we're not restoring the creek. In fact, our current maintenance agreement with the state doesn't allow us to restore the creek or go anywhere near it, which is why we didn't explore any further enhancements along the creek. It's just additional planting. And
okay.
Yeah, a part of that is even for the areas in the interior of the park, what Patrick and our team had done was we've walked this park several times and we've identified some areas where even the turf is underperforming, where some irrigation is sort of creating some puddling after some of the rain events in the winter. And those are very strategic. We've been out there. We notice puddles. That's actually also because those are low points, they adversely affect the decomposed granite. So all of this is very strategic in terms of addressing a greater problem, which is to minimize additional erosion and, again, to make it look a little nicer.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Nemo. I appreciate that, because on the staff report it does say creekside restoration. So maybe I don't know. Sorry, it's not on the last slide, so I don't know exactly where this presentation is going next. Assuming City Council that maybe it doesn't say creekside restoration, but maybe more explicitly clarifies that it's on the park side, or more specifically what you shared just now about how it's going to help on the park side of things, and its Measure M funds are not going to creek restoration.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I would just clarify that, it is seem like a fine point there, but if you walk that, you can see people are walking that edge and it's eroding also. If we pick appropriate plants, the edge will not cave away, and we'll be improving water quality a little bit without really doing a restoration job. And then the plantings will be associated with that whole riparian corridor. They'll be appropriate for that. So we're kind of enhancing it, but without doing a restoration.
Thank you very much for that. Commissioner Bruman, did you have a further question, sir? Thank you. Any further commissioner comments or questions? Okay, I would like to say this is probably one of my favorite parks in Vacaville. It is, as you described, the canopy is beautiful. It's a natural state. And that's very important. As I've been on this commission for about 5 years now, there's a common theme in all of that. It seems that the community likes our parks to be in a natural state, meaning minimal concrete, which I think we are looking at a minimal concrete in this park. And the DG, with the DG around the park, are the amenities accessible with the DG that is around the park now?
Yes, everything is accessible. And, one of the primary points of feedback that we got during our very last outreach effort was the fact that standard sort of ongoing maintenance for the decomposed granite was not sufficient to make sure that we're not preventing sort of a lot of puddling and compromising of the decomposed granite. And so that was one of the changes that happened between the last plan and this one, is that we expanded that a little bit, but everything is accessible.
Okay, very good. And that's, I think, very important in a park like this, to keep it in that natural state. So, I would just say, as long as it's accessible with the DG, minimal concrete anywhere would be great. And absolutely, the surfaces for the courts all need repair. They do need attention, and I absolutely like the multi-use courts. I think that we get the most for our money that way. I like the natural play areas. I also like the interpretation panels. I think this is a great park for that, so I'm all for that. And then also, I know, Patrick, you were just using an example out there as horseshoes. I think we need to consider that this park does back up to people's houses. Horseshoes can be loud. And, I don't know that people want to hear that all day long or into the evening. So just something to consider there, but it looks great. And again, this is one of my favorite parks in Vacaville. It's just beautiful. It's a treasure here in Vacaville. So at this point, I will open it up for public comment. Madam Secretary, anyone from the public would like to speak on 11B Alamo Creek Park improvements?
I see no hands, Chair.
Okay, very good. I will close public comment and we will now move to, make sure there's no other commissioner comments or questions regarding 11B. Okay, very good. We will now move to 11C Trower Park improvements.
Great, thank you, Chair McMahon. So for our final improvement project, we've got Melody Ocampo, who is managing this particular project.
Thank you, Nemo. And good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. I do want to take a quick second to officially welcome our 2 new commissioners. We are excited to have you join our little family here at Parks and Recreation. So the Trower Park project is one that has been in the works for over a year now. This neighborhood park is located in District 3 at the end of Holly Lane and across Markham Avenue. Like the other projects that were presented tonight, this is funded by Measure M. It has a budget of $1.8 million. We had hoped to have a larger budget and submitted this project to the state of California's Prop 68 Park Development and Community Revitalization Grant Program. Unfortunately, we did not receive that funding. However, through that grant process, staff coordinated over 25 community engagement opportunities, gathering surveys with responses in English and Spanish. We did that via social media, at food giveaways in and near the park. We solicited folks online, door to door, and during random park visits. In addition to those survey efforts, staff hosted 6 community meetings, the most recent on March 10th, during which community members expressed support for the majority of the top ranked community desired features, such as covered picnic areas, playground equipment, top playgrounds, flat turf area, and added benches. And then we received additional comments, including support for added shade, Pollinator Garden, and residents wanted to see the proposed mist pad converted into a splash pad. There was also some suggestions for new amenities like dog waste bags, increased accessibility into the playgrounds, restrooms, and moving some elements to the west side across Markham Avenue, as well as hiring a consultant to solicit volunteer labor and donations, as well as incorporating an overall theme into the park renovations. We did receive one email this afternoon reiterating some of the items I just mentioned. So just one new comment there. And overall, staff analyzed all the community feedback and has retained Wilson Design Studios to develop the conceptual plan or master development plan, as you'll see it labeled here tonight, as well as the construction documents, bidding, and construction administration services. So the design you're going to see incorporates the features prioritized by the community, including a combination splash mist pad with the inclusion of that splash/mist pad. Sorry, that's a bit of a mouthful. The plan does exceed the approved $1.8 million budget and has significant ongoing maintenance costs. These are costs that we are looking into. And as we move into the design development phase over the next month or so, staff and WDS will be researching continuing operation and maintenance costs for the proposed mist pad, sorry again. And the final program elements or park elements and features will be contingent on the outcome of that cost analysis. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Keith Billick from Wilson Design Studios, who will run us through the current state of the park and the design concept. Take it away, Keith.
Melody. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to present this park to you. It's been a great opportunity working with Melody and other staff to hopefully bring this park to fruition soon. With that, Tracy, next slide, please. Just to give you a little bearing of where we're at, again, as Melody said, this is at the end of Holly Lane, and we've got Markham Avenue that runs through it. The park does straddle Markham Lane, so there is a portion of the park on the left-hand side as well as on the right. The majority of the park is on the right-hand side. Next slide. We've got several different major things. I'm going to go through some of the existing conditions and talk a little bit about what we're doing here, and I'll show you the master plan at the end. So this area right now has some tot play, some little spring toys, a little tot swing, a large flat area, a little bit of a shade structure and some other play equipment. This will become a new flat turf play area. So this will not be a large actual regulation size field, but it will be a large enough play field that practice and scrimmage games could be used on it. This is will be down in the kind of the southeast corner of the project as we get to that slide. Next slide, Tracy. This is looking up through the park. Markham Avenue is there kind of at the top. And one of the other things we've heard, and we've heard this on other of the projects tonight, is that idea of security lighting. This park does have lighting throughout it, but residents have felt that it wasn't enough. So what we're looking at being able to do is incorporate some solar lighting and benches along the walkway. There are quite a few walks through this park, and we want to make sure that they are secure and people do feel comfortable and safe walking through those in the evenings or early morning hours. The advantage to doing the solar lighting is they're definitely much more cost effective because we don't have to run additional power lines. We don't need to run the wiring and all that. And they are really, really durable. So they will handle the graffiti, they will handle the abuse, they will handle the constant attention that they're going to get out there, but also provide that security and that safety as they need. Next slide, Tracy. As we look in this area, kind of tucked up through the trees, what we'll see is we're looking at doing a native pollinator garden area. So this will be an area that is partially seeded, partially planted with native California plants. The idea is to, one, reduce water needs for the irrigation for the turf area, but two, also bring in something similar to what was at the Alamo Park. So something that's a little more natural, something that can have a little more engagement and interactivity with it. So we are doing a pollinator garden. I should say I call it a garden. It'll be a pollinator, a native plant area that is bounded by the sidewalks. And you'll see that on the plan as we get to that, to help with maintenance, to help with making sure that it kind of stays within those bounds, but then also being able to ensure that people can get up to the interpretive signage to read that. Next slide, Tracy. As we look back this way, as kind of right on the other side of the sidewalks here, right kind of by that light pole, this is where we've got a natural play area. So as we've talked at you've seen some of the other parks proposing this. This is a complement to the existing play structures that are out here. As you've seen with some of the other ideas, the natural play is using more natural products, the logs, the stumps, the rocks, and really it's letting the kids imagine what those are and playing on them. The nice thing is that with elements like that, they hit every age range. So even though that we will be taking out some of the hot lot stuff, the springs and some of that, we are putting back in some play equipment that is suitable for all ages, so that the natural play elements will allow everything from young kids up to older kids to be able to use and play with that. Next slide, Tracy. And in this area also to the left here, we've got an existing pad site or an existing concrete pad with picnic tables on it. There are a couple of these throughout the site. One of the things we heard loud and clear, as Reggie pointed out, and as we've heard on some of the other parks, is shade. Residents were adamant that we need shade, we need shade, we need shade. So what we're looking at doing is not only incorporating some new picnic areas with shade structures, but also providing shade structures for the existing picnic pads and the picnic areas. So we can, again, as Commissioner Vasquez had mentioned, they are spread throughout the park. So as families and as groups start to use some of these spaces, we are making sure that we've got those spaces spread throughout the park. Next slide, Tracy. This is one area that is currently there is a basketball court. You'll see in the plan. What we're doing, expanding this. So this area will see some new landscaping. This is right on the northeast corner of the project. So new landscaping, but we're also going to be incorporating a skate park, as well as an enhanced basketball court that does have the pickleball courts on it also. So this area gets cleaned up, gets reutilized, gets revitalized back into a useful piece of the park. Next slide, Tracy. And this is the plan. The numbers that you see, so I'll go through those kind of quickly. The number 7s that you see, those are the most prevalent, the ones that pop out all over the place. Those are the new solar lights and the new benches. So you can see we are putting quite a few new benches and spreading those solar lights out. One of the things that we heard at our last public meeting was that some of the residents thought it would be beneficial to take some of those solar lights and benches and spread them across Markham Avenue so that we've got that same amenity on the other side of the street. And so we have added that, we did listen to that, and we're able to incorporate 5 benches and 5 solar lights across there. The number 9s that you see, those are the new shade structures and over the existing, as well as we've got one tucked down by the existing playground. We've then also got a much larger one sitting out in the grass area that is next to the number 6, which is the natural play area. And the number 5, the circle there, is the mist splash pad that Melody just talked about. The number 4 down in that right-hand corner, that is that flat play area, so that turf area. Again, it's not large enough without taking out some of the trees. We don't want to take out any of the existing trees, but it's not large enough for a full regulation size court, but it is large enough to get a scrimmage field out there and to get a practice field in there. So if you're familiar at all with this project or with this site, you'll know it's basically one big slope. And so it makes it hard for kids to play pickup soccer, pickup games, or scrimmage games because there just isn't a flat area. And so what we'll look at doing is doing minimal grading, but we picked this area because it is already one of the flatter areas in the park. Being able to work with the existing topography and the existing trees, flattening that area out even a little bit more to make it much more up in the upper right-hand corner. The 1 and the 2 are the 2 is the skate park. The 1 is the new basketball. And I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. It's a futsal is what we're looking at. So not the pickleball, but the futsal court that's being put in there with that. So again, single court, but multiple uses. And then doing some additional tree plantings in that area to help give some additional shade on those spaces and those amenities as they get developed. That's what we've got right now. Melody, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think at this point, we're probably ready to take any questions.
Perfect.
Thank you very much for the presentation. At this time, we'll open up for commissioner comments or questions. Commissioner Gutierrez.
Hi, yes, it's so exciting to see this park get some much needed love. One comment, Melody, that I think you made, and I'm just curious about, is trying to find some outside organizations to get donations. Is there a reason why we would even need to solicit additional, donations for this area?
So, Commissioner, that was a suggestion from the community members who attended. That was one of the comments on the email that we received just late this afternoon, as well as at the last community meeting, with the intent to maximize the budget for this project.
Okay, I was just wondering if funding is an issue. Have we, talked to? I know that the city council members have been allocated funds for their district, so I don't know if that's able to be tapped into if funding is an issue, or if I don't know if how Measure M funds are allocated, but if there's an area or a way to get a bigger piece of that pie for this location.
So we're actively working with Public Works to truly identify all the costs, not only for the initial project and bringing these items and features to the park, but also addressing ongoing maintenance funding. So we're still working on a clear number that we could provide for any of our decision makers to allocate any additional funding.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you. I really like the use and the volume of the solar lighting throughout this park. And I know that was one of the comments that was brought up very frequently by community members. Obviously, one of the advantages is not only is it green with solar lighting, but there's no having to trench or run wires. But I'm wondering what the long-term how long, what the lifespan is, how long do they last? At some point, those batteries or those units have to be replaced. Is that 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? And do we have any data on that to support that?
Yes, great comment and great question. We do. I actually just talked with the sales rep this week, and I asked him that specific question. And the light fixtures that they've got right now, both the battery and the bulbs, they're expected right now. They're lasting about 20 years. That they're saying that conservative. They've got some right now that are still operating at 80% capacity that are 30 years old. But they're conservatively saying that they're 20-year lifespan for sure. You know, I think it's something that again is a good product. They're easy to get in, easy to replace if it needs to be done. So yeah, we're looking at least 20 years, if not longer.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Shea.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I'm really excited to see things happening at Trower Park. This park is in my district. I had a couple of questions. So one thing I noticed is as we were going through the slides is just the stark difference between this park and honestly most other parks in Vacaville. It's, you know, for a park that has a lot of, you know, natural land features, more rolling hills and things like that, it has the potential to be a really beautiful park. But I didn't see a lot of, you know, beautification type additions. Because you'd mentioned in Alamo Creek, there was going to be a lot of like shrubbery and things to make it look a little nicer. But this, for lack of a better term, this, you know, park was looking a little destitute. So I was just wondering if you had any plans or what was the plan, you know, just to make it look nicer. I wanted to know a little bit about the Pollinator Garden. That sounds like a beautiful idea, but I saw that the area on the slide was a little small. So what's like the approximate size that you have planned for that Pollinator Garden, and like any additional like park beautification elements?
So yes, you notice the main item, that Pollinator Garden, is kind of a point of beautification. And then in terms of the size, I'll let Keith answer that. I'm not sure. Right now it is kind of a grassy area, and it has, I don't know, I feel like it is a fairly significant size in terms of wanting to have those located in one spot where, you know, this is where we're going to attract butterflies and different insects that are really going to breathe some life into there. And then we also have some potential mural opportunities with some of the covered picnic areas.
I apologize. I'm looking up that number on the area of the Pollinator Garden right now. I should know that right off the top of my head, but I apologize. I don't. Let me get to that, and I can get that back to you, Commissioner Shea, before we get done with this here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Vice Chair Vasquez.
Hi, everyone. Thank you both for the presentation tonight. As many of you know, I have been attending many of the Trower Park community meetings going back to late 2020. I did have a question, Melody, if you can remind me how much the original, I guess, budget or I guess grant request we were requesting under Prop 68 for this park specifically?
We requested 3.5 million for this park.
3.5 million, and right now the Measure M allocation is 1.8.
That is correct.
Okay, which is almost half the difference. So yeah, I somewhat agree with Commissioner Gutierrez. If you know more funds are needed, can we go back to City Council for more funds to allocate Measure M funds to this park? Because I do think it is severely needed. You know, attending the community meetings for this park, I heard lots of community cries and outreach or requests for covered picnic areas, a splash pad, top playground, and just additional playground equipment. And I think while this does somewhat suffice it, but it feels a lot more of like a compromise, right? Like it doesn't feel like enough. I think when you look at the other parks, and when we've seen other park master plans, and when we went through our parks master plan document, we incorporated visions and goals and aspirations for equity and park equity across the town. And so I think that this is one park that still needs that. And so if staff are encouraged to do so, or if council members, are encouraged to do so, that we get that extra funding for this specific park. Because I did notice in the staff plan, so originally it was a splash pad, but now it says misting station. Is there a reason for that?
So Commissioner, it actually went from a misting pad to a combination mist splash pad, and that was it was related to the budget for this project.
Okay. Well, I bring that up, one, as a concern because I do remember last year when we were looking at the Nelson Master Plan, the commission specifically asked for, Parks and Rec Commission specifically asked for information on splash pads, like cost analysis for installation, operation and maintenance, and staff never really came back to us with that. And so I think that, with that lack of information and knowledge, I think it's challenging as a commissioner to say or recommend one way or the other for splash pads for our community. But I know that this community specifically, that was like number 2 in their requests in the initial surveys in 2020. So if we could come back to that at some point, I think that would be great information for not only the commission, but also probably city council to have. The other thing that I'd like to highlight is I did attend the March 2022 meeting, and Councilmember Silva was in attendance at that meeting, and he shared actually a lot of ideas and themes for this park, and I think that any way that we can incorporate some of that, as he's both a resident of this area and a council member that represents this area. He spoke really highly about wanting to have like a park theme or a cultural theme. When you think about some of our other parks across town, like Andrews Park, people often refer to that as the Dragon Park, but building some sort of cultural community theme for this park. If we can do that and incorporate that. And I know he did also, express concern and want for even electrical access in this park. And I know that's not something that is typically part of neighborhood parks, but I think, again, this is a different situated park, I think, within a community. So just some of my thoughts and questions, and wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. And I'll just remind the commission that, this body does not determine the budget for this park. We're here to talk about the improvements for the park. So a lot of great suggestions from the commission, a lot of great ideas. And I think that that's our job on this commission, is to bring those to light and to come up with a plan and then pass that on to the council. So just a friendly reminder, please. Commissioner Oz.
Thank you, Chair. My question goes towards the playgrounds. If I recall the existing condition pictures, the tot playground was very, very minimal, and from the agenda report, it doesn't look like there's going to be. Or could you just speak to what type of additional playground amenities would be added? And then I guess a related question would just be how do you go about making the decision? Is it just a budgetary issue, whether you do a tot playground or a larger, fuller size playground? And just trying to think about, since this just has a tot playground, is there a specific decision made that was necessary over a larger playground?
So I'll speak to the question about the tot versus what we call a youth playground. And that's something that we typically try to have one of each in our neighborhood parks. And then I will let Keith speak to the nature play area that is number 6 on the master plan.
Were you going to start, Melody, or do you want me to?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, that's where. Let me respond, Commissioner Shea. I appreciate your patience. That the native or the natural, the pollinator area, the native planting area is about 3,500 square foot currently.
That's significant. Thank you for finding that out.
Yes, you're welcome. And Commissioner asked, so as we look at this, Melody we'll talk a little bit about how we got to this point. The idea behind the natural play area is that it's a little more inclusive in that it because of the type of play, it gives the tots as well as the youth the opportunity to play. There's elements in it that that the 2-year-olds as well as the 12-year-olds can find interactive. So it's not specifically a tot lot or a tot play area versus a youth. It is a more inclusive. A lot of the feedback, and Melody can speak more to this, a lot of the feedback we got was, again, wanting to have that theme. And Commissioner Vasquez had pointed, or yeah, I think it was Commissioner Vasquez, sorry, from Councilman Silva was talking about wanting a theme. And we've been really working towards a theme of nature play on this. The mist splash pad will have a nature theme to it with leaves and other natural elements that provide that misting. The natural playground starts to reinforce that. The natural element of the Pollinator Garden, just kind of the nature of the park itself. So we felt that because the community wasn't specifically on their priority list, the tot lot wasn't high, we did not want to just completely disregard it and not try to put something in. And our solution was to put in the natural play area that is open to a variety of kids of all ages, versus just sort of replacing a tot lot with a tot lot. But again, that's why we're here, is to hear your comments and your feedback. And as Chairman said, ultimately we look for your guys' guidance on making sure that we're providing the right amenities in the right parks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Commissioner Berumen.
There we go. Yes, I'd like to echo everything pretty much what my fellow commissioners are concerned about, especially Gutierrez, when we took that tour over there to that park, which is a much needed and help. And we even spoke to a little guy that came to us. I think he spoke to Chair McMahon on what he would do to the park. That was really funny. But at the same time, are there going to be benches along where the basketball courts and the skate park is for people to sit and wait in their turn to play and things like that?
Yes, that's a great comment. I forgot to point that out. Under the trees, we are including benches. Okay. We don't currently have any along the skate park, but we do have some along the basketball and the pickleball courts.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir. Any further commissioner comments or questions? See none. I have a couple here that I'd like to talk about. I believe it was Commissioner Shea that talked about just the beautification of the park and the vegetation, the shrubs. I do hope the plan includes more trees. I did notice in one of the slides, the pictures that there were trees cut down. It looked like they'd been removed for quite some time. And it looked like there was an adjacent building, a 2-story building right next to it. I think that we really need to consider planting some sort of trees there, for privacy for those community members that may not always want to be looking at the park or that play field there. And then also it just provides more shade for the park, something to consider there. And then also the solar lights. Commissioner Thompson brought them up in a 20-year lifespan. Is there any difference in winter use versus summer use? Is there any difference there?
As far as when you say use, currently the fixtures that we're proposing, they can go, they'll continue to put off the same lumens for 2 weeks with no sunlight. They've gotten very efficient with the LED fixtures and with the batteries. And so we shouldn't see a decrease in output basically between the summer or the winter months. We will, as we continue to fine tune the locations, we'll make sure that they do get the appropriate or the recommended amount of sunlight on a daily basis, and make sure that they're getting that sun to help provide that, the maximum use of those lights. But no, we shouldn't see a difference between winter or summer on those lights.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. And then also, can you please help me out here? The Pollinator Garden, where is that located in the park?
It is
Item 8.
Hopefully you can see marking it up right there.
Okay, I'm all for it. I think it's beautiful. Something to consider though, there will be bees, with people barbecuing and picnic tables. There's a water feature close to that. I think we really need to consider that because as important as bees are, they can be a nuisance at times, especially when people are out enjoying the outdoors, and if there's food out there, there will be children out there running around. So I just don't want that to be a problem. So I don't know if that's been considered or not, the location of that. It looks like it's fairly close to the play structures. So again, butterflies are beautiful. It's just the bees can possibly be a nuisance. So I hope that's been considered. And then also all of our parks, and in fact, throughout the city, I know that we do have dog waste bags locations and a place to grab those. A lot of times we don't have a place to dispose of those bags after they're filled. So unfortunately, what people do is they just throw them on the ground. So if we're putting the dispenser out there for bags, are we allowing, or do we have a receptacle for people to use for that waste?
To your first comment, we did consider the bees, but I do hear that, and we will make sure that as we continue to develop this, that we are really truly considering that. It's not something we heard from concerns from the community, but I do hear that. And as far as the dog waste receptacles, we can certainly include those. Melody, we haven't considered that or haven't included those currently at this stage, but we will. That is a good point. So we will take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's all my questions. It looks like Commissioner Oz, sir.
Yes, thank you. Just one more quick question. I see that there was some feedback from the public that requested a consultant to help solicit volunteers to help to provide labor to bring the project costs down. I was just curious to see if that was a past practice. Have we done that before? Has it been successful?
I could not tell you if it is something that the city has done before. It's very much in a preliminary exploratory phase. That was a comment that was made at the recent March meeting. So something that staff are still looking into.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you very much. Seeing no further commissioner comments or questions, we will open it up for public comment at this time, Madam Secretary.
Yes. We got a question in the question and answer portion, I guess. It's like chat, and I apologize for not turning it off, but Regina Herrera, you had posed a question, so I'll open your mic now.
It already got answered. Thank you. That was just I had a question. Yeah, my question was just that, was there going to be benches for the soccer, while they're resting, and the skate part in the basketball courts? Because I didn't see it on there.
Okay, very good. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Secretary, anyone else from the public, ma'am?
Yes. Call in user 1. I'll open your mic.
Thank you. Good evening, caller. Can you hear us?
Oops.
Madam Secretary, are they still muted, ma'am?
It looks like it is, their phone is open. Oh, it just closed again. So call-in user 1, it looks like your phone is open to speak.
Hello, caller. Can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. How are you?
I am so sorry. I had you guys on mute so that just in case I messed up earlier. Okay.
That's quite all right, ma'am. You have three minutes.
Thank you, guys. So I was at the last meeting, and you guys have done exceptional work incorporating a lot of the features that we've discussed. But I did reiterate that people have asked for dog receptacles and bags. So if you put out the bags and you don't put out the trash, like they said, they throw them on the ground. Also, two people have reiterated that there is not accessibility, like on the swings. The ones that are shorter have a hard time getting on. So you need to have for different sizes, and taking out a small park to put in just a play area that's more of a nature thing. But the bigger kids have a bigger space, and they kind of go at a different pace. So having an area dedicated to the tots that are just getting their footing could be very helpful. I was thinking about the funds, and since you guys have an issue of having slashed the budget in half, grants.gov, Park and Recreation departments at national and state and local levels frequently offer grants. Corporation and banks philanthropy is a necessary part of business for large companies, as many will offer grants to community building projects. Local businesses, large, even small ones, might have fewer competition for grants and sponsorships. Even nonprofit, us working together, disabled access swings, musical playground structures, slides down the hill. We can incorporate and have a robust park more than just what we have. I think if we work together, we can increase. Thank you very much. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Madam Secretary, anyone else from the public, ma'am? Madam Secretary.
I apologize. I was on mute. No other hands, Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll close public comment, and I'll bring it back to the commission for commissioner comments or follow-up questions. Vice Chair Vasquez.
Yes, I just had a follow-up question and a comment. In terms of these improvement plans, are they going back to City Council for approval? I know each one had kind of a last slide of like next steps. Sorry, there's feedback. Oh, should we mute the? Okay. Sorry, so there was, for each plan, there was a final slide that showed, next steps. But I'm sorry if I don't know off the top of my head, but did each one have a final next step to where these improvement plans go back to City Council for final approval? Like where does City Council fall into these improvement plans?
Hi, Commissioner. So, go ahead, Director Walker.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Vasquez. So as what has been noted previously, that these plans were included in the Park and Recreation Master Plan, these improvements, as well as the Measure M budget that were both approved by City Council. So the plan is, because the vast majority of these improvements at all of these parks are, a lot of them are maintenance related. So these will not be going to the City Council.
So neither the commission nor City Council has final approval on these plans?
No, this is planned to be the presentation, the one and only presentation to commission, and there will be no request again for action, because again, these are primarily maintenance related improvements.
Okay, and so then a follow-up question to that, will there be updates at commission meetings on how the improvements are going, or what the final plan ends up being?
Absolutely, we can. We will bring status updates to the commission. And Trower, this is a little unique, and obviously there is a strong desire to seek out additional funding for this park. So as Recreation Manager Melody Ocampo mentioned, that we're going to invest some time and effort into that. The city does at this time, we contract with an organization called California Consulting, and their specialty, what they do is grant research and writing. So that is definitely an area that, we will pursue with them and share with them, and see what they can seek out and hopefully find for additional funding.
Okay, sorry. Another question just came to mind as you were talking. So should the staff seek additional grant funding for any of these projects, really, and the plan would potentially or could potentially change based on receiving an additional grant, then would these plans come back to commission and council for review? Or does the project move forward as is with Measure M funds?
Yeah, well, I think the other option is, for a dialogue and discussion amongst the council themselves, and as to whether or not, there is a desire to augment any of these budgets. But again, the projects have been approved and the budgets have been approved.
Okay, I guess I just don't understand how council would know to augment if they don't see these final plans. Like, if there's not a circle back to City Council on these improvement plans, I don't understand then where the potential for an augment comes in if there's not that circle back with them.
Well, again, I think that we are planning right now for some of these items, in this park in particular, are add alts, so that staff can take the opportunity to seek additional funding. And this would absolutely be brought back to the commission.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then just a random comment to Commissioner Oz's comment about volunteers. My family, way back in the day in the 80s, they used to allow volunteers to help because my family actually helped till the land for Nelson and drag those fields. So, but that was in the 80s. Times have changed. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further commissioner comments or follow-up questions regarding Trower Park? Vice Chair, I see you have your hand up, ma'am. Do you have another question, ma'am? Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, very good. Thank you very much for the presentation. It's exciting to see a lot of parks in town getting the attention they need. So thank you so much. We appreciate the presentations this evening. We are now at agenda item 12, reports of Recreation Manager, Melody Ocampo.
Good evening again. Tracy, if you could take us to our first slide. Okay, second slide. Thank you. All right. I just have a few things to report out on tonight. One, I wanted to provide an update on our Park and Recreation Program scholarships. We have allocated all $100,000 of the Measure M funding that was generously awarded by the City Council and allocated for this project. We are still accepting applications, and that is because we built into this program basically an opportunity for folks to, what we do is we allocate $1,000 per family and we monitor that account. So we waited until all our summer programs were released, and then we went back and we looked at all the accounts, and any account that had $200 or more in funds in their account that were still remaining, we went back to them and said, hey, please use this or give it back to us so we can give it to other families. And so we are in the process of that right now. We've set a tentative deadline of April 17th for those families to kind of get those funds set and to get their summer plans in order, get their children signed up for different programs or summer camps to make sure they have that much needed summer childcare, and then hopefully release those funds for any families that are waiting to kind of potentially get an allocation. And we're kind of reallocating those funds as they come back to us to those new families. So in total, we allocated funding to 80 families that serve 219 youth. And again, we are still trickling in a few more here and there. Next slide. So I've got a couple fun events that are holiday themed. We've got our underwater egg hunt coming up on Saturday, April 9th. So hopefully some folks out there are signed up for this. And if not, it is $14 at the door. So it is an afternoon. Hopefully we'll have some good weather from 1 to 4 this coming Saturday. Next slide. And then the following weekend, we have our annual Bunnies and Bonnets. We're really excited to have this again. With 2 years not being able to host this event, it's a real thrill to be back out in Andrews Park, 10 a.m. to 1. This event is completely free, and there's lots of little goodies, eggs. There's golden eggs for some lucky kids out there who will win a special basket. And we have some different age groups, but all the egg hunts will begin at 11:30. But again, I encourage folks to come out as early as 10. We'll have some great vendors, some fun craft activities, and different just fun activities for the kids in general, great big bubbles and things like that. So it'll be a great event. Next slide. Oh, I know you have all heard this before, but please send us any folks who are looking for part-time jobs. We are hiring, or full-time for that matter. You heard that we are recruiting the recreation coordinator for our active aging programs. But in addition to that, we need preschool teachers and lifeguards, coaches, field prep, after school program staff, and again, summer camp staff, and even marketing support. So definitely send folks our way. We want to hire them. Last slide. And then instructors. You heard our recreation supervisor, Julia Madison, talk about losing some instructors during the pandemic. We are working to bring them back. We do a fee split. So our instructors come and they receive 60% of the registration fees, and then we retain 40% in order to process all the registration, do the marketing, things like that. And it's a great opportunity for those who have a special skill or a passion and some facilitation skills. So we definitely want to encourage folks to fill out one of our instructor proposals or class proposals. Those are online and can be just emailed in, and we'll get you connected with a coordinator and hopefully get some folks contracted with us to provide some new and exciting classes. And that is it for my report.
Melody, thank you so much. We'll open it up for commissioner comments or questions for Melody. Commissioner Gutierrez.
Hi, that is so exciting to see that all of the scholarship funds have been used. And I really like the fact that they won't go to waste, that you guys are circling back. I'm just curious about that. If people who are kind of being, I guess, waitlisted, are they being told that they're on a wait list? I know I can't imagine how they must be waiting to hear back if there are funds available for them, but I'm assuming the people who aren't using it are going to get a deadline. And then just wondering if the people are waiting, if they know they're on a wait list, that way if they end up using the funds and there isn't anything available for those waitlisted people, how that's being communicated, or if there is even a possibility of getting additional funds for all the families that applied.
So yes, people are aware when they submit their application, we let them know that they've received it. We work through any documentation that is needed, and we will then, let them know at this time, because we do have those funds allocated and we're getting those different funding trickling in. We are allocating some small amounts as they come in to those families so that they can get registered. And we are, just having those conversations with a lot of our families so that we can kind of work through the process and get folks into our programs through this scholarship program. And then to address your question about additional funds, it's my understanding that this is 5 years worth of funding on the Measure M plan. So we are hopeful that we'll get an additional $100,000, which will go into effect on July 1st. So we'll have a nice big pot of money potentially to be allocating immediately to those families who are on the waiting list, and will be essentially pre-approved and immediately get some funds allocated if they maybe only gotten some minimal funding previously.
That would be awesome. Is there any reason why we may not get that additional money for the July 1st? Is it dependent upon anything?
Nothing that I'm privy to.
Okay, cool. My last question is, again, I'm throwing my recruiter hat on as far as instructors wanted. I don't know if we've looked at, I know when my kids were younger, my husband would volunteer and coach like their t-ball or flag football. And in return for that, we would either get like a discount on the kids signing up, or even some of them were able to participate for free. Just wondering if that might be, if a parent signs up to be an instructor, is there a discount or something that they can have for their child that may be interested in attending a class, just to encourage, additional people to sign up.
We definitely do the volunteer coaches, and exactly what you're talking about with some, free participation for the child of the parents. I don't know that we've specifically explored it for instructors per se, but it's something to definitely look into.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Any further commissioner comments or questions for Melody? I see none, Melody. Thank you so much to you and your team. You guys do amazing work out there, and we appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Agenda item 13, reports of director, Carrie Walker.
Thank you, Chair McMahon. So I wanted to welcome our new commissioners, Commissioner Shea and Oz. Thank you so much to both you and our returning commissioners for your willingness to serve. We appreciate all of you and all that you do. We had an enormously successful VacaCon event on Saturday. We weren't sure what to expect coming out of COVID, and wow, we really had a nice turnout. It was wonderful, wonderful event. I want to thank staff for their hard work, specifically Recreation Coordinator Bria Haddon and Recreation Supervisor Tiffany Ricci Western. The gardens, the plaza, the theater, and the cultural center were bustling with activity. And I also wanted to thank several council members who attended. Councilmember Wiley stopped by, and council members Sullivan and Silva, as well as Vice Mayor Roberts, all volunteered to judge the costume element of the event. You'll notice included in tonight's packet is an inventory and description of the various committees that commissioners liaison to. So I wanted to make certain that everyone had an opportunity to look that over and see if there's anything in there that piques your interest, you might be interested in volunteering for. So that'll come back to the commission next month, and you'll be able to move forward and make those appointments. The other thing that in the next couple of months that will land on that inventory list as well is the 3x3 committee assignments. And those assignments will be made by the City Council. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the purpose of the 3x3 committee, it will be comprised of 3 council members and 3 commissioners who will be reviewing and prioritizing park and recreation facilities with a cost in excess of $10 million. And then lastly, I just want to share with the commission the park tour. We didn't get responses from everyone, and the responses that we did get, it was split. We only had 3 available for each of the proposed dates. So we're going to postpone that and likely not have that tour until sometime in the fall. And I think that concludes my comments, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Director Walker, thank you so much, ma'am. Commissioner Gutierrez.
Oops. I just want to say I had a very, very happy 11-year-old with VacaCon. So that was so exciting to see, although he did have a suggestion that there needs to be more Miles Morales representation, but he just loved it. And it was so fun to see, you know, the city council members get involved as well. And Breakin' 2 is one of my favorite movies, and there was an actor from there. It was just amazing, and I'm so excited to see all of these events come back. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Vice Chair Vasquez.
Hi, thank you, Director Walker, for these updates. It's great to hear that the Measure M3x3 is underway. I was actually going to ask about that tonight. So I'm glad to hear the update from you. I had a question about like the previous master plans that the commission has approved and where those are at and if they have moved forward to council or the master plans that Parks and Rec have recommended for approval. I think it was Nelson, Alpatch, and maybe there was another one. And where those stand, because I don't remember ever seeing them go through to city council.
You are correct. And on this item might, because we have Recreation Manager Reggie Hubbard, who's the project manager for Nelson Park, and then Park Planner Nemo Gonzalez has taken over as the project manager for Alpatch Park. I think Reggie has some updates. He has recently taken the Nelson Park Master Plan to the internal planning PRC, our Planning Review Committee. And so I will let him share with you the status of where we are with that one, and not sure what the latest and greatest is on Alpatch. I'm not sure if Nemo has taken that to the Planning Review Committee and presented that or not. So I'll let them speak to those 2 projects.
And thank you very much. This is the chair. If you would just keep those comments brief, being that's not on the agenda this evening. If you can just update us on where we're at in that process, that would be perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Commission Chair. Thank you, Director Walker. Yes, regarding the Nelson Park Master Plan, you're right. It went to our PRC 2 weeks ago, and the next step will be going to City Council. I don't have the date, but we'll make sure that we let the Commission know when it goes to Council.
Thanks. This is Park Planner Gonzalez. So in regards to Alpatch, that hasn't gone to PRC. I've been focusing on the Measure M projects, but it's something that's on my radar that I will be taking to PRC. And then I'll have to check the status to see whether the previous park planner had moved forward with presenting it to council. But my understanding is that no, it hasn't. And so at some point in the future, once we get some of these projects off our plate, we'll move forward with that particular master plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Shea.
I just wanted to thank Director Walker for her updates and echo her sentiments about VacaCon. It caused quite the buzz, and over at my little school, we had multiple teachers and students that attended that have been talking about it all week long. I even had a student write one of his papers about it this week. So it really was very popular and a really fun event for the community. So thank you for those updates.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. It seems that VacaCon is fast becoming a hit in this town, and that's incredible. It's awesome. Thank you for all the work. Any further commissioner comments or questions for Director Walker? Commissioner Shea, did you have another question, ma'am?
No, I apologize.
Okay, thank you so much. Director Walker, thank you.
Thank
okay,
you.
we are now at item number 14, reports of the commission. We have two items here this evening. 14A, appoint two members of the Parks and Recreation Commission to serve on the committee to review applications, interview candidates, and recommend new members for the Arts Advisory Committee. So this is a one-time event. It's fairly low as far as a commitment. I would imagine it would be an hour or two. I don't know that there's a date selected for that yet, but we're simply interviewing the two commissioners that would be selected. Will simply be interviewing the candidates and then make the recommendation to the commission in a future meeting. So at this point, I will open it up for the commission. And is there anyone that would like to volunteer for this committee? Commissioner Gutierrez. Yes, ma'am. You would like to volunteer for this?
Yes, I would. It was a really nice experience sitting in on the interview panel with Melody last year for the Arts Advisory Committee. So if you'd have me again, I'd love to.
Well, I think you would be a perfect commissioner for that. Thank you so much, ma'am. Commissioner Oz.
Yes, I would welcome a nomination as well. I'd love to. Sounds like a fun opportunity. Love to serve.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll open it up for further commissioner comments, and then we will do a roll call vote on it. Or actually a motion and a second, then a roll call vote. So I will make the motion this evening, and the motion will be for Commissioner Gutierrez and Commissioner Oz to sit on the Arts Advisory Committee for the interview panel. And if I can get a second, please.
Commissioner Thompson, I'll second that.
Okay, so McMahon and Thompson, and roll call vote.
Commissioner Oz,
Aye.
Commissioner Berumen,
Aye.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner Shea,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Vasquez,
Yes.
Chair McMahon.
Yes. And I do see that, Melody, you have your hand raised, ma'am.
Yes, I just wanted to add that there is no date yet. What we will do is be in communication with Commissioner Oz and Commissioner Gutierrez and be working with their schedules to set up a date and then obviously communicating with any applicable candidates.
Thank you so much. And thank you to both of our commissioners for volunteering for that committee. Okay, we are now at 14B. Yes, 14B, excuse me. The election of chair and vice chair. I would like to start this evening, and I would like to make a nomination for the chair position for the commission. This person, this commissioner, the attention to detail is just noteworthy and outstanding. Her quest for inclusion, accessibility, and it is just remarkable. And with that said, this evening, I would like to nominate Vice Chair Vasquez for the chair position. And I will open it up for a second.
It's Commissioner Thompson, I'll second.
Okay, so we have McMahon and Thompson, and roll call vote, please.
Apologies. Commissioner Oz,
Yes.
Commissioner Berumen,
Aye.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner Shea,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Vasquez,
Yes.
Chair McMahon.
Yes. Motion passes. Congratulations, Vice Chair Vasquez. You will be our future chair for the next meeting. And we also have—
Thank you very much for the nomination.
Absolutely, ma'am.
And I'm sure commissioners and staff might use different adjectives to describe my attention to detail.
Well, it is much appreciated, ma'am. Thank you so much for your commitment to this community and to the commission. We appreciate it. Okay, we'll open it up now for vice chair nominations. I'll open up for the commission for discussion. Vice Chair Vasquez.
I'd like to put forward Commissioner Keith Thompson's name for vice chair.
Okay, very good. We have Thompson and as a motion, and a second, please.
This is Commissioner Gutierrez. I second.
Okay, we have Vasquez and Gutierrez. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Oz,
Yes.
Commissioner Berruman,
Aye.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner Shea,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner McMahon,
Yes.
Chair Vasquez.
Yes.
Okay, very good. The motion passes. Congratulations. I will call you the chair now. Chair Vasquez, congratulations, ma'am, and Vice Chair Thompson. We look forward to you guys leading us throughout our meeting. So congratulations to both of you. Okay, at this point, we are at the end of our meeting, reports of the commission, and I'm going to start at the top. Commissioner Oz. Anything to add to Commissioner comments for this evening, sir?
No comments, but just other than just it's been a fun meeting, and I'm looking forward to working with you and serving the city.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. Commissioner Berruman.
Yes, I'd just like to also welcome the new commissioners, Oz and Shea, and looking forward to working with you. And then I also want to thank the presentations for the parks we went over. And I just hope that, you know, there's some parks that need a lot of love, and that one over in Trower Park does need a lot of love. And I'm hoping a lot of the recommendations that were brought today come to life, and we get a little feedback back from that. And then pretty much all that. Just good evening to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Commissioner Gutierrez.
I too want to welcome the new commissioners. Welcome. I also want to say hello again for all the returning commissioners. I know we were just here last month, but it feels like it's been a while. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about all the activity happening at all the parks. I definitely want to echo what Commissioner Berruman said about you know, some of the parks that need a little bit more love. And I know all of us on the commission, if you need anyone to pick up a shovel, we're more than willing to put our part in as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Commissioner Shea.
I just want to thank city staff for easing our transition into our new roles. You made it very painless. So I appreciate that and all the work that you've done. And I just want to say I really look forward to serving on the commission and alongside my fellow commissioners.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Welcome. Okay, we are now at Vice Chair Thompson, sir.
It's very exciting to see the return of several of our spring events that were prior to the pandemic, an annual event, but we haven't been able to have for some time. So I'm excited to see that stuff going on in the community out there, and use of the parks the park attendance is up significantly at all types of parks. So I'm very excited to see that. I want to welcome our two new commissioners to the commission. We're looking forward to working closely with you. And I want to thank Commissioner McMahon for your 2 years as our chair and leading us through a challenging time, to say the least. And thank you to all the commissioners for your support. I hope to serve you honorably as vice chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Chair Vasquez.
Everyone, definitely want to echo a lot of the same sentiments. Just welcome to the new commissioners, and also thankful for my reappointment to the commission, and looking forward to serving with you all again this upcoming year, and serving as chair this year. And definitely agree with Commissioner Thompson, and thanking Chair McMahon for his service as chair during a global move to Zoom, and what we know now is fairly easy, but in March 2020 and April 2020 we were like, what the heck? So just thank you for your service and your patience, and your commitment to our commission and to Parks and Rec. I would like to encourage the new commissioners to check out the commission roadmap roadmap that the staff took us on last year. Well, I guess it was more than a year ago, but pretty much through mid-June 2020 to through most of 2021, the staff took us on a really excellent journey and navigation through Parks and Rec within the city. And so I would really encourage you all to take a look at some of those past agendas and past meetings to get a better understanding of what Parks and Rec entails in the city of Vacaville. And just a quick update, Arts Advisory Committee was canceled for April 13th next week. So I'm assuming our next meeting will be in July. But thank you all. Hope everyone has a great night.
Thank you very much, Chair. Okay, I would again like to welcome our new commissioners. This commission is very important to our city, and I appreciate you stepping up, and we all look forward to serving with you. Then also, lastly, I would just like to say thank you to my fellow commissioners and the past commissioners. Over the last 2 years, I didn't know what Zoom was, just like Chair Vasquez just stated, and I'm pretty familiar with it now. I do look forward to getting back in person meetings. I think it's important that we continue to meet and deliberate in person. I look forward to that. So thank you so much for your confidence and your trust in allowing me to serve as the chair for the past 2 years. With that said, we will adjourn this meeting until the regular meeting of Wednesday, May 4th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Good night, Vacaville.